Good evening. This is Prepper Nation. I am John. Thank you very much for being here. Let's get straight into it. So, this morning, like many of you, woke up to the news of all the airstrikes in Yemen. There's a coalition, a deal apparently, but the UK and the US were the two most heavily involved. This is major escalation in the Middle East. I'm just saying. All right, major escalation, and it's going to come, I think, with a very bad outcome when you get right down to it. I may even title the video something like that or something to grab some eyeballs. That's what you do, right? So Iran views this as a threat, even though the strikes were in Yemen. The people that were being hit are backed by Iran, and Iran, they kind of forewarned the United States and its allies, don't do this. There will be retaliation if you do this. Saudi Arabia has also stepped in and told the United States, kind of stand down. We need to be de escalating this, not making things worse. But again, they're talking to Joe Biden and company, right? So, what exactly is going on in that region? And why do I think it's going to be so bad for the average person here in the United States? Um, the number one thing is there's a lot of global trade that goes through the Red Sea that uses a canal there, the Suez Canal. And in order, if they're able to shut down shipping, which is what they're doing right now, they are harassing the shipping in and out, through the Red Sea, and they're trying to force the US and its allies, the entire West really, to go all the way around Africa. We're talking about thousands of miles and millions of dollars extra in operating costs to get the freight where it's going. Plus, takes a lot longer to get there, right? So, because of this, the average cost of shipping in through there has risen around 300% because the ships are being harassed, they're being boarded, they're trying to hit these things with drones and stuff like this. And so the shipping companies, they're having to pay more for insurance, they're having to pay more to get employees who are willing to go. And this just gets passed along right to the companies, 300%. Um, so as I sit back and I look at this, because the United States and the UK, we have many, many enemies. We brought a lot of this. I would gamble to say tonight we've brought a lot of this onto ourselves. Our government has, at least. How would our enemies hurt us the most? How would a country, let's say like Iran, how would they hurt the United States and the UK the most? Would they go directly head to head into war with the United States of America or the UK? No, unless they're absolutely loco, they would not do that because that's unwinnable. A head to head war with two superpowers, the United States is still a superpower. Seems like misstep after misstep because we got fools in charge right now, but we're still a major power in the world. So is the United Kingdom. No, this is not what you would do if you were Iran and Middle Eastern enemies of the United States. You would try to affect them indirectly. So you would sit back and you would think about the United States and the UK, and you would say, what? We were just talking about it this morning, son. What would you do? How could you hurt the United States of America? What is one trait about the United States and the UK? They're import dependent. The United States and the UK both rely heavily on imports, and a lot of these imports, again, are going through the Red Sea. So you can hit out, affect them indirectly in this way, cause a lot of trouble back in the good old United States of America and throughout Europe, quite frankly, with very little money. And you're not directly head to head, getting involved. You hit the shipping lanes. Um, and the whole situation, to level with y'all, it's turning into a big old cluster. I'm not gonna say the other word, son, but a big old cluster. And it didn't have to be this way. Much of the chaos that we are seeing right now didn't need to happen. It's just, again, misstep after misstep. This is a fool throwing darts at a wall when a fool doesn't know how to throw darts in the first place, doesn't even know the rules of the game. We got Biden throwing stuff everywhere. It's ridiculous. And I heard it best put, and I've heard this many, many times, but I saw this last night on X on Twitter. Elections have consequences, and that's a true shot through the heart statement right there. Elections have consequences. Um, Bigger companies right now, I know IKEA and Tesla, these are two, but of course there are many, many more. They're taking huge hits right now because of the money that they're having to pay. They're having to either, I think Tesla just shut down production in one area. I believe it was in Germany thereabouts, but a lot of these companies are having to inflate their prices, and their stuff is already inflated because again, inflation's real. But I'm not here to argue that. Y'all know that. But the higher cost, of having to pay more for insurance, having to pay more for shipping in general, again, a 300% increase, it gets passed down to the consumer. It gets passed down to people like us here in the US, people that are just trying to buy regular, everyday, ordinary items. You can find stuff that's made in the United States, okay? You can find I found stuff that's made in the United States at the Dollar Tree, but it's few and far between. Most of what you see on your shelf is coming from somewhere else in the world, even down to the food and stuff, folks. I could go into a local grocery store, some of the produce, okay, is coming from certain regions, even locally. But a lot of the stuff that we're seeing on the shelves, even in a grocery store, is coming from somewhere else. It's being imported in, the grains especially. Um, Here's the issue. Globalists have a big issue here because they're pushing, y'all know what they are pushing. They're trying to get to 2030. They're trying to replace everything that is combustion engine. They're trying to replace it with electric and all of these EVs and things. How can you do that when you can't get the EVs to the United States at an affordable price? These things are already overpriced. The batteries, from what I understand, are ridiculous to have to swap out and pay for. Talking 10,000 plus dollars to swap the batteries out in some cases. And now companies like Tesla, and that's just one example. Other companies are doing it. Chevy, Ford, blah blah blah, or at least they're trying to do it. Now Tesla's looking at a 300% increase in shipping costs. Okay, so now they're going to either have to sell their stuff at a substantial loss here in the United States, which they're not going to do. They're not going to take a loss like that widespread, or they're going to have to substantially increase the price of Teslas. And that's gonna price most people out, and most people are gonna look at gasoline engine cars again and say, "Wow, that's a steal of a deal right there. I can go get a Ford that uses gasoline for a fourth or a fifth of the price of a Tesla that's in the same class." You understand? And consumers are hurting right now. So this really throws a wrench into the plans of the globalist elites. To put it into perspective, just since the airstrikes last night, oil is up 4% as I film this. And they're anticipating global oil, the prices are going to continue to climb now because oil companies, to get stuff back and forth, they're paying a higher shipping cost. They're worried about their ships being taken and stuff like this. It's going to lead to significant inflation here in the United States and also in the UK and abroad. Um, it's going to lead to, unless they figure out a way to fix this, unless Iran decides to start playing nice, right? Or Joe goes over into a corner and starts sucking his thumb, which, he might do. I don't know. It's going to lead to a major gap in the supply chain on certain items. Okay, this does not mean, calm it down. This does not mean you're going to walk into a Walmart or a Costco or a Target, for y'all Target weirdos. I know y'all are out there, and see all bare shelves. No, this means you're going to walk into a local Walmart and you're going to say, wow, this item was $20 last week. Now it's $28. for the same item. And if I buy this item, I've got to pull $8 from something else. So you're going to spend the same amount of money on the stuff they have, but you're going to get less. That cart, especially with groceries, folks. I know y'all have seen this. That cart, you spend $100 or that buggy, the stuff in it continues to decrease. It seems to be shrinking. That's the real shrinkflation. What you're actually getting in your basket or your cart or your buggy for $100. All right. The stuff is still there. You just can't afford to buy it all. Ironically, though, we're looking at the possibility of a more widespread war because, again, the US, the UK, they now have a list of 10 countries that have signed on. I know Australia is one of them. I know Japan is one of them. I don't have the list in front of me, but there are 10 countries now that are saying without question they are going to hit these places with airstrikes if this continues to happen in the Red Sea. And you have Iran and Iran's allies, which there are a lot of in that area, that can really harass the Red Sea saying, there's going to be retribution for this. You shouldn't have did that. You've crossed a line at this point. So major escalation could lead to a larger war. And again, ironically, last night on X/Twitter, whatever it's called, I don't even know anymore. I think it's X. World War III was trending. It was the number one trend when I hopped on there. And people were scrambling. You can tell people were scrambling. They're asking each other, is there a way to avoid a draft here in the United States? How do I avoid the draft? I'm not getting drafted. I'll go back to my mom's house and live. This sort of thing. You click on their profiles, and guess what was happening not even a month ago, 2 months ago? They were riding with Biden. A lot of Biden supporters, a lot of Biden voters. Yeah, folks, they exist. I know probably not as many as we're being told, but Biden voters are out there. They've got remorse. I think they're finally beginning to understand, oh man, my tail end might be in a sling because of this pudding eating fool that I voted for. And again, elections have consequences. Perfect quote. Saw it again, saw it online. I've heard it a million times, but there's no better example of it than this. These people hated Trump so bad that they rushed out and they organized, and we gotta electrify the youth. We got to get in there. We got to get the 20-year-olds to cast a vote for Joe Biden. Well, guess who's going to get drafted first if this thing escalates? It's going to be the 20 somethings. Folks made your own bed. Take a look at the world as we shut her down here. Take a look at the world real quick because people will still say, we'll never see World War III. You're just on here fear mongering, son. Take a look. Russia and Ukraine's at war. Israel and Palestine's at war. The Red Sea, again, airstrikes, major escalation, threats back and forth. Nobody's backing down. Poland is seeing a coup right now, a political coup. For anybody who doesn't know, they're massive protests. You will have to go to X or social media to find that. Mainstream media is not talking about it. Basically, what's happened there, the Cliff Notes version, they didn't agree with the election results. They thought there was some fraud going on. They have a leftist government now, as of a few weeks ago, that are trying to sell them out to the WEF. The people are not having it. They're trying to overthrow things there. Sweden has officially told people, citizens there to brace for war. They didn't go into detail, but they're encouraging people to brace for war and prepare for a wartime economy. And it's got to be a reason for it, right? Then you take a look at the invasion here in the United States. Can't forget about that. Got a fighting force here in the United States, sleeping with us every night, if you will. Then you look at the Taiwan Strait and the conflict between China and Taiwan, the US being heavily involved there. Then you look at North and South Korea and Japan being pulled into this because rockets randomly fly off everywhere. We're in it. We're in the big show right now. This thing, who's de-escalating at this point? Who have y'all seen? What political leader has gotten up in front of a podium and said, you know what? We're going to back things off. We're going to try and de escalate. Trump warned us this was going to happen. He warned all the 20 somethings out there, hey, this is going to happen if you vote this fool in. They were riding with Biden. They made their bed, and now they're worried about being drafted because we're in World War III, folks. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. Take care. God bless.